Do you notice something a little bit different about me? Well, if you didn't notice, the hair is straight, you guys. I got my hair did. I've been flat ironing this hair for about an hour. It's almost there. It's still a little poofy, I think, especially towards the back, but I think it's better than what it was. So I'll be rocking the straight hair for a minute. I got all these flyaways. I need to get some like hair wax to make them go down. Yeah, we're bringing back the straight hair again. Just checking in. Just got done with cold plunging and that went well, and now I am heading home and considering going up and doing my Mount San Jacinto day just to kind of get myself out into some sun, nature. And yesterday I got up early and I watched Pope Francis' funeral and to just kind of reflect on his impact. And I always do this when somebody dies. That's when I really start to like research and get to know them. And I'm like, oh dang, they actually were a cool person. Their story is really cool. I ended up going to church and we had this choir that came, school age kids, and they sing Gregorian chant. I completely forgot about it. Walked into church at 5:45. Oh, there's a lot of people in the park. It was so beautiful. So they sung during Mass. There's one song that, for whatever reason, actually there's two songs that will break me during church. It is Ave Maria, and it just depends on who's singing it. Our cantor's got a great voice, and every time he sings Ave Maria, I'm just like sniveling. I'm like, ooh, like trying not to cry. And then there's another prayer, and it's a song, and it's called Soul in My Savior, I think is the name of that song. And that song always gets me. And I was fine at church. And for some reason, I'm just like really bummed about Pope Francis dying. When I'm looking at what he did, there's things I didn't understand. And I came to this clear understanding of why he reformed the church. We had problems with certain groups with I was just like, I didn't really understand. I said, it's such a rich form of the Mass. It's so beautiful. And then all of a sudden I was thinking about that and it popped in my head. I want to start learning about it. I'm like, oh, I get it. And I said, I think I kind of have a little bit more understanding. I think I get it. And he wants to make church accessible for everyone. And that's kind of what I got out of it. I don't know if that was his purpose, but he wanted to make it accessible for every single person in the world. And church is, but when you start having different parts of the church kind of splintering off and doing their own thing, that can cause issues and weird stuff to pop up. And that happened with, I think, one or two churches on the East Coast that they ended up, people were doing weird stuff. So during church, I was just starting to think about it. And, our priest didn't really spend a whole lot of time speaking on the Pope. He actually didn't plan a homily because he wasn't planning on doing a homily or do all the singing and singing all the Gregorian chant and all that sort of thing. So he said a few words about it, and then we kind of moved on. We could have said a little bit more. Even the prayers didn't include him. So I don't know if it's going to be the next 9 days that will specifically be, the priest will be specifically saying his name during Mass, because now that we don't have a Pope, we take that part out of the Mass. And when that happens, you're just like, oh damn, we really don't have anybody who's our spiritual father in our church. We got to communion, Soul of My Savior came on, and I broke down. I was I'm crying, sobbing. And I just really was okay, so I'm looking at the good that this man brought into the world. We were finally going in a direction that I think that our church needs to go to. We need to open up our doors and open up our hearts and not always be pointing our fingers and judging people and not following what Jesus told us to do, which is to love one another. I really felt that. So when I was there and I was praying for him and I offered Mass for our Pope, I just started bawling. And then it just kind of came up I'm really worried because, as we all know, within our country, if you have the wrong person in leadership in politics and your career, it can mess up everything. And I have a lot of that going on around me right now. And so I'm just kind of I hate change. And especially the unknown, we can't go back to what we were doing before, where we were alienating people and pushing people away from the church. And that's hurting us. That's hurting our community. And we're losing people left and right because of the church scandal, with the abuse scandal, and all sorts of other stuff that's going on. So I've watched several documentaries over the past couple of days on Pope Francis and some of the things that really his focus was on. And then I had that whole moment and I sobbed and I just could not stop crying. And it was the weirdest thing. And it's I cried during John Paul II's funeral. Pope Benedict, I didn't have that connection with him as much. There was something special about this guy. So I lost it, cried my eyes out, and I was bummed out. I stayed after Mass, listened to the choir, they finished, they closed the Mass, and it was really nice. And I just kind of sat there and I prayed for the church, and I was he pointed us in a new direction that really resonated with a lot of people. And I'm we need to continue to go in that direction. And really it's on all fronts. It's, environmental, it's the poor, it's diversity and inclusion. There's just a lot of stuff that he said that really made sense and is really what we need. And we've already lost that here in our country pretty much. So it's just kind of if we get the wrong person as the head of our church, it's going to be a disaster. I had this whole moment and was, really into my feels about that. So I'm going to have to do some praying on it. And then also I would go down to Pacific Beach and I would go volunteer to go serve the homeless. And that was a lot of fun for me. And I used to do it with my friend Adam. And then we would go out afterwards with, the people that would go do that. We'd go have dinner and have sushi. We'd have sushi on Monday night. For a while, we were doing trivia and we were out till 2 a.m. And then we got over it. But it just reminded me, I was just I'm doing nothing right now. I'm being super selfish. So now I'm re-examining my life, get back into service in a way that makes sense. I was doing a whole lot of service with being a sacristan for so many years at church and with the homeless and going to the food bank on occasion and volunteering my time. And right now I haven't done much of anything, evaluating my life as well. And he lives such a simple life. And it's if you are a shepherd, you need to go be with your people. You need to go be with your flock. And you have to show up for people. So I think that's why he moves so many people is that he would literally just show up in like a poor section of town. And there was a clip of him. He was the Bishop of Rome. And so they were doing blessings. There's a certain time of year where you do a house blessing. It's around Epiphany, I believe. And he just showed up at this poor neighborhood, and the people were just shocked. All the people, oh my God, like, Papa Francesco, like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I came here to bless your house. You know, he's like, that's my job. I'm here. And it was just amazing just seeing how many people lives that he's changed, even non-Catholics. It's been really moving hearing people from outside of the church who really were moved by him and actually went to Italy and was like, I have to go be here for this guy's funeral, and don't even know him, but what example he gave to the world is something that I respect. Still kind of like on a low moment, so I think I need to go and hike. That makes me happy. Something been wanting to do, and I've been putting it off because I've been like, oh, you know, like, I really don't want to put many more miles in my car right now, and like worried about this, but I'm like, no, maybe I just need to do that, cheer myself up, get out in nature. You know, it's just interesting. You know, like Pope Francis died, that was really significant. And then I come in to do cold plunging, and there is this older guy. I couldn't tell how old he was. I thought he was like in his early 60s maybe, and he was this really nice guy named Cal, and you think he was a electrician, or no, he was a plumber. And he was a really nice guy, and he used to come take all these breathwork classes, and he would sit in the cold plunge for 20 minutes, and that was his thing. And, you know, we come today, and they were our instructor, Kirby, who used to go to her class a lot. She was just saying, you know, we're basically doing this class in memory of Cal. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, Cal died? I was like, what the hell? They had like a little memorial set up for him, and a place where you could write a message to his family, send your condolences. And one of the quotes that they had for him was that when he was a little boy, he really wanted to be an astronaut. But now he feels like, you know, he got to a point where he was like, you know, the astronaut of inner peace. So it was like some type of quote like that, which was really cute. And he was just like the most zen guy. And he really loved cold plunging. He was here all the time. Sad to hear that he died. And so I'm just like, life is just so freaking fragile, especially people of a certain age. And you know, start to think about your own mortality, and you start to think about the people who are in your life, like, you know, your parents. I know my parents are getting older, and my aunts and my uncles are getting older. You know, everyone's life is going to end at some point, and how are you going to live your life until that happens? And we don't know when it's going to happen. So live your life and do the best you can. And then also, like, what do you want to be remembered for? And so I started thinking about the way that I want to be remembered for it from what I wanted to be remembered for when I was a little bit younger. So I really have to think about that in my life in that way. So anyways, that's kind of where I'm at. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. My little, like, reflecting on life and, like, tweak my life a little bit.